While we're getting set up here, I can go ahead and start. So I want to thank the school district for having us be involved in this, again, for a second year. It's been an honor to be able to serve and to learn more about your community and to learn more about the needs of the school specifically. So as I get started, I want to ask two questions. I get asked questions now. You guys get to ask questions later. My first question is, how many of you were here last year for the presentation? A very good sampling. Yes, I had expected that. So any one of you could come up and give this presentation at this point. But I'll run you through it. A second question is, why, and this is rhetorical really, why is this being brought up year after year? Why is the bond being asked for the school budget? And the real reason for that is because there's a need. And so where we started was looking at the needs of the community, the needs of the school specifically. And so we went through what's called a needs-based assessment. We're not looking at what are the desires or what are the wants, but really starting with the needs. And part of that is with starting doing just what is a 21st century school and what does a 21st century school require. So the four categories, again, are safety and security, code upgrades, building efficiency, and space deficiencies. There could be other categories that come up in other areas, but these were the ones that were more specific to Hampstead. The first area is safety and security. And I got to remember, Jason, is it, which one's the pointer? Pointer? Yeah. Okay. I don't want to get the pointer mixed up here. So for safety and security, we looked at all of the secure areas around the school and within the school. If you can see the different arrows on the screen here, there are over 10 access points from the exterior of the building. In today's day and age, security is very important, and that needed to be addressed initially. Now, the district has taken steps through grants. They've been able to start a small piece of that, which we would continue on with if the building passes, and they'll continue on as best they can, but it really requires a much bigger scope. The other area is looking at the inside of the building, the interior, to make sure that the access is controlled properly so that once students are within the school or the public is within the school, then they can flow through the different areas that they need to get to. One example of an area within the school is the front entrance. So if you have been in the school, you recognize that the administration is kind of in the school, up the stairs, and closer to the classrooms. It doesn't give them a great location for being a stopping point or an access point for the public. So, you know, looking at ways to remediate that is what the conceptual design addresses. A next area is meeting building code requirements. Building code requirements have changed over time. They're getting more and more stringent. A lot of what is within the school would be considered grandfathered, but there are unsafe areas. There are access, egress, which would be your stair components, typically railings or widths of stairways, widths of hallways, doors that need to be to have the proper width in the case of an emergency. Also, there are restrooms. The school is lacking in the number of restrooms for all the students and for the staff. Drinking fountains, small point. But fire sprinklers are found in almost every building. They're required in every building we do commercially from here on out, and they have never been installed in the central school. So that's one area of deficiency, is the no fire suppression. Again, on building code requirements, there are some structural repairs. There's an area that's being has been monitored for a few years, just seeing how different sections of the building are moving. Also, there are hallways and doors that need to be smoke-proofed. Some of those requirements go away if sprinklers are installed in the building. So you can kind of help yourself out in one area if you take care of another. Building efficiency is something that really affects your bottom line in terms of operating budget. There are a couple areas that we looked at in the building. The most efficient is in the 60s wing. This would be the kindergarten and fourth grade classrooms. And again, this is just an example of one area within the building that we have masonry walls that have not been insulated. And so, I did the calculations, and that masonry wall gives us an R2. If you guys are familiar with an R rating on walls, even commercial standards, which are much lower than residential standards, we need an R value of R20. So we're about 10% efficient. That's just on the wall. The windows are leaking. They are in very poor condition. And the roof needs to be replaced, which would add some more insulation. So this is just one part of the building that is leaking dollars out the walls, whether it's summer from heat or the winter from the cold getting in. The other areas that we have some fresh air ventilation requirements. We're pulling fresh air right off of where there's a drive up. So they're pulling all the fumes right into the classrooms. And heating and ventilation has changed a lot to where we can install heating and ventilation for a building that is a lot more efficient today. So those would all be pieces that need to be addressed. On space deficiencies, there are certain standards that need to be met by the state. Hampstead has also taken a stance on this and said for the best education, we want to restrict our class sizes in the preschool to 15 students, kindergarten to 18 students, and the grades up to fourth grade at 20 to 23 students per class. And that just is a performance, you're able to perform better in the classroom. The teachers are able to teach better as well. So that is one area that then gives us a lack of we don't have enough classrooms. Classrooms need to be added or clustered or reorganized within the school. Again, on space deficiencies, there are a couple classrooms that are too small. A typical classroom is 900 to 1,000 square feet. There are currently 3 classrooms that are in the 6 to 700 square foot range. So they physically can't fit the kids in these classrooms. They're just on top of one another. Again, on space deficiencies, there's the possibility of district-wide solutions, bringing district offices into the building. There is the opportunity for the community to come and use some of the other facilities like a cafeteria or a gymnasium. That is not possible at this point. There is some opportunity, but there's a greater need for that within the community, and there are definitely opportunities to be able to do that. Again, on space, there are site improvements that could be done. I failed to mention this earlier, but the portable classrooms, again, are another building deficiency or building efficiency area where a lot of money has been spent over the years to heat and cool those. They are no longer being used at Hampstead Central School. They've brought all of the children into the school, which compounds the space needs within the school. And so that's kind of a first step, but taking away that space also means that they need to have more space for a school. The process of how we got here is there are facility assessments that date back to 2010. There are other facility assessments that our team did with Bonnet Page and Stone as well, and with Trident Group. And there was a steering committee. There was a conceptual design committee. So all of these tagged together, but just as a reminder that your community and the school board has been working on this project for over a decade. Dennis Myers Architects, who I represent, we came on 2 years ago, and we can really see where the need was. The needs haven't changed that much, although they have, the certain needs haven't changed in terms of what they need, but they have just been compounded. It's, they need more space today than they did before. So I'm going to walk you through how we broke this out. It was repair to renovate and renew. That means we're renovating the places that we can, making the repairs that need to be done within the building, and then building new components if the bond is able to be passed. Just to orient you, there are essentially 3 sections of the building. There's an 80s section of the building, a 60s wing, which I spoke about earlier, and then the original building, which is the 40s wing, and you can kind of refer to that as we go through this. So we're looking at adding new spaces, which would be a new main front entry, cafeteria, music room, library. Those would be the new components, new building pieces, and then being able to make some site improvements at the back of the building. In terms of renovation, some of the areas that need to be renovated so that new could happen would be changes to the cafeteria. The kitchen cafeteria needs to be remodeled. Some of the equipment is old. The floors need to be upgraded. And to be able to utilize this kitchen properly, currently they're using a cafeteria space within the gymnasium. They would be able to mirror the kitchen so that it could serve off the other side to a new cafeteria space. And this kitchen is not, you know, a great added cost to the project. It's one of the areas that we've been able to identify and say, well, we'd love to have new everywhere, but this is one area it can be cut back in terms of budget, and the space needs are there. Also, there are some offices. The nurses area would be moved closer to the front entry. Some of the special education rooms would need to be modified, and then there are structural repairs. This is the exterior of the building on the 60s wing, where we need new insulation, new windows, new walls, and also mechanical equipment to go along with that. On the upper level, we would need bathrooms. We need to expand the restrooms on the upper level. The library could be converted into 2 classrooms. They're already set up as essentially 2 classrooms with a movable wall that divide them, so that could be built right back in easily. And then those 3 small classrooms can be turned into 2 classrooms, and they can be used for a classroom and some other special education needs. So again, the new components are site improvements, library, a music room, cafeteria, and the main entry, new main entry, with a courtyard infill. And essentially that's just space that is picked up in the middle of the building. It can be a safe, secure zone within the school, so you know the students can go into that space during the day, or if there's any other emergency needs. In terms of new construction then, the new construction on the main level, I'm going to kind of give you the big overview, and then there are some broken down smaller areas so you can see these specifically, and we'll talk generally about that administration area, the new front entrance. Then we'll talk about the cafeteria, the music room, and the library, and I guess initially we'll look at some of the classrooms that will be added upstairs. So on the upper level, currently this is that 60s wing that needs the new building envelope. There's a stair right here that is non-conforming, and we would use that path to connect to a new component, which is over top of the library. It would be 2 new classrooms, and then egress so that you can get to a new elevator and stairs down to the lower level. The main entry, this is just a snapshot so you can envision this would be the new entry at the front of the building. You can kind of see how the old building is peeking out there, and then that's the gymnasium. So this is the new piece. Everything color-coded here are either renovated spaces or new spaces. So this administrative area is added on to the front of the building. There's ample room in there. And you can see what it does is it gives you good viewing angles to all of the front, to anybody who would enter from the main entry, and anybody that's going to pass by in the hallways behind. So again, this becomes a good control point for the front of the building. Nurses' station is going to be also near the front entry, so that if there is a sick student, the parents don't have to go all the way through the school to go pick them up, and they can check out more easily right at the front entry. And we were able to sneak in a little PE office for the physical education currently using more of an old closet, and we can use that again as storage like it was before. This is around the back of the building, and this gives you a snapshot of the cafeteria, the music room, and some bathrooms, and a library, and again, those upper level classrooms. So when we were meeting earlier with steering committees and talking with the community, one of the things that came up is they said, we would really like to be able to use the school. How could we get into the school? Can we use it for sports? Can we use it for having events? And that was something we responded to. This cafeteria was added as a space that really frees up for the school uses. The school currently has to partition off the gymnasium, and they can't utilize that gym during parts of the day. They're having to clean it continuously. And so by bringing a new cafeteria space into the building, then that frees up the gymnasium to be utilized continuously. They can utilize it at night. They don't have to worry about other scheduling conflicts. And then the cafeteria can also be utilized during the day or the night for events. And we kind of envision that as having almost like a stage, like a feel up front, and you can reconfigure that space into a lot of different ways. Also, the music room, which has, at least in the last 20, 25 years, has been out in a portable. They're finally in the building and happy to be there, from what I understand. But, it's really cramped. It's a small space. So this is an ample-sized music room for what we would have in today's day and age. Next to that is all of the restroom facilities, and those restroom facilities can function for after school, because now we've got a way to block off this area, and the public isn't going to go into the other parts of the school. We're always thinking security. So these restrooms work during the day, and then they also work for after school functions. Also the library, we get closer to a state-of-the-art library that we would expect to have in schools today. And there are even teachable spaces out in some of the traffic flow areas where teachers and students can meet outside of the classrooms. But generally speaking, this becomes another bookend to the building. You've got the front entry, which is a secure area, and then you've got the library that it has eyes on the back of the school. These are the two major access points. So you can see how that all comes together. The traffic flow for within the school is very circular. If you're on one end of the building and you need to get to, closer to the main entry, you can come this way. If maybe there's something else going on here you don't want to disturb, then the traffic flow goes all the way around. It just helps for general congestion within the building, and quite honestly, it worked out. We tried to lay this out so we didn't have that much circulation, but this worked out the most efficient for the building program and for staging it during construction to keep the cost down. And then on the exterior, again, we have the new site circulation. Once the portables have been removed, we're able to reorganize that so that drop off and pickup for the students is a little bit safer, more secure in the back. We've taken care of that building envelope skin. We're not sucking fumes in there anymore from cars that are parked there, and hopefully this is operating better than 10% efficiency in terms of a building. And obviously, all of the new components, the new building standards, are going to take it even higher than what that R20 is. So if we look at the overall new construction, we have cafeteria, library, music room, 2 new classrooms, administration, and a main entry. And in terms of remodeled spaces, we have the new remodeled 60s wing, additional bathroom or restrooms, special education and academic support areas, district offices that can be pulled in, nurse's office, structural repairs have been done, and fire suppression throughout the entire building. It's not just the new components, it would be brought into the other, the existing part of the building as well. And how that breaks out in terms of the distribution of work, which is also distribution of dollars, is that, and what we'd like to try and key into is that we're trying to build learning environments. 45% of this budget is going directly to learning environments. Safety and security is a big piece today, so it's kind of taken up a chunk of money, but that also includes the fire suppression. And then the district is able to come in, we're taking care of some of the site and other infrastructure, and we have code deficiencies that are just a part of building new today. So the merits of the project, as Mrs. Usanka mentioned earlier, this is a long-term solution. This has been in the works in this community for more than 10 years. So when you have that much effort put into doing something, doing a project and being able to re-envision it over a 10-year period, then you have more of an investment to look at it in the long term. This is a 40-year solution, and there are ways to cut the budget and say, well, we only want to do this, but in 10 years you're going to be back asking for more money. So this is thought of as a long-term solution. Again, safety and security is crucial. That already adds on to the security grants that have been gathered and implemented into the building. The efficiency of the building is maximized for operating costs. The analysis we did last year showed that the operating costs for the entire building minimally would go up. So it was almost dead even, even because we're adding so much more building, we're taking care of some of the envelope, but your operating costs for the entire building are really not going up that much. Again, we now have a cafeteria, library, music room for the community use. There are clustered classrooms and the improved traffic flow within the building. We're code compliant. We have fire suppression throughout, and as many of the district offices are consolidated as possible. So I got to talk a little bit about the numbers. You saw the budget number earlier. It's the $7,994,500. Of that, hard costs, which are construction costs directly related to building physically, are is, it's a $6,969,500. Soft costs are the architectural and engineering fees, management fees. There's some technology and commissioning that's in that as well. We've kept that number the same, even though the number had to go up this year because of escalation costs in construction. And then there's the owner's project contingency of $275,000. That is money that covers unforeseen conditions, things that happen along the way, and hopefully we've taken care of most everything. That can be extra money that can be used towards other finishes or technology if there's money left over. No promises there, Bonnet Page and Stone. What does this mean for tax impact? I think it's important to mention that really we're looking at a $10 million project. We started at a $10 million project and we downgraded it. We were able to bring the cost savings down to just under $8 million. So the tax impact that you're going to see, and I believe, yes, this is in the handout. If you didn't get a handout, you can look this up for yourself. It kind of gives you an idea of if you have a $100,000 home or a $200,000 home or a $400,000 home, then what the monthly and yearly impact would be to you is listed on there. If you need more information, I'm sure that we can gather that for you as well. But just to keep in mind that on a $200,000 home, that comes down to about $12 a month. So that is a presentation that we have. I hope we answered most of the questions before you had to ask. But I think, do we want to switch to questions?